Okay, it looks like we're going live on the Facebook page,
Yep.
and we'll get started in just a few minutes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pure Presence book study with Bill Free, your host, and co-host Arthur Gay. Hey, Arthur.
Hi,
Welcome.
Bill.
Hey,
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
you're welcome. Everything seems to be working now. Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. Yes, we're doing wonderful. Ah, I love to see the technology working.
Makes it easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it really does. And I elected to go on Facebook Live. I have a Facebook page that has about 18,000 likes on it. So I went live in that public page, and then I'll share it back into the Pure Presence Book Club that's a private group. You can share to a private group, but you can't share out of one. And I'm also recording this on my computer, so I'll upload that to YouTube, and we'll have recordings everywhere. we'll put it out there everywhere. It's good to see everyone here today. I thought that we were going to be able to see everyone's video going, and maybe I need to check that off on a checkbox. It wouldn't let me check it. It may be because it's set up as a webinar and not a meeting. And you have a choice when you do these webinars. If you do a meeting, you can't record it into Facebook. And if you have a webinar, you may not be able to have all of your participants live with you. I think you have to choose which one you're going to go with. And I chose to do this one. And you all have a hand raise function that's available. Arthur and I checked it yesterday, and I don't have a hand raise function, but you do. And you can raise your hand if you have a question, and we'll pick off the questions after someone's finished speaking, and then we'll pick the raised hands in the order that they're put up, if we can tell.
I'm just reading the chat.
Oh, I don't see the chat. Oh, yeah, I see the chat. There's the chat. Hello. Hello, everyone. I see the chat now. Good. Wait, hand raised doesn't have a middle finger.
Timothy.
Timothy, okay, that's good.
Yep.
Yeah, let's bring some humor in.
Sure.
Yeah,
We can't laugh. What's the sense?
that's right. Well, I'm thrilled to be into this book for about my third read. And Arthur, you've probably read it at least half a dozen times, I'm sure. But this book, in my mind, this is never going to get old. It gets richer and richer. And welcome everyone to chapter 1 of Being Aware of Being Aware. It's, in my mind, it's the gem of Rupert's teaching. It's, when you read the different ways that Rupert talks about the topic of being aware, it seems redundant, but I don't think you can hear it too many different ways, because it's just looking for a place to land so that it becomes your default. And before we get started, I'm just going to invite everyone here to just be present and come into the shift of being aware of being aware. This is our natural state, and it's so easily and quickly missed. We miss it because of objective noticing. We get so invested in the object that we veil this being aware. So thank you all for joining with us today. And Arthur, thank you for being our co-host and a great friend. And also, I love how you picked up this material so quickly, and you're such a voracious reader of Rupert and all of his teachers and all of their teachers, and you're amazing. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. I love being here.
Yeah, thank you. And this week, this is chapter 1, knowing, being aware, or awareness itself. So let's get into this, Arthur.
Okay. I just wanted to say first that when you had mentioned doing being aware in the book study, I hadn't read it in a long time, and I picked it up, and I forgot how good it is, and it absolutely sets the foundation for the whole study, and it's also kind of cool when you haven't read a book for a while and you go back to it and you see what was highlighted at the time of the reading and how that evolves or changes to the present. So it's pretty cool. But if anybody asks what book would you recommend to get introduced to the direct path non-dual study, this would be it.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And right on the first page, Rupert bangs the whole thing out. Between the paragraph and the italics, all objective experience is known. My suggestion would be, if this is a new exposure, is to keep it simple. Just take what Rupert teaches on faith, because you'll get to a point where you can take it to your experience to see if it's your truth. Then he says, we are aware of our experience. Well, I can sit back and test that right now. Am I aware?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It would not be possible to have an experience without knowing or being aware of it. So that line right there allows us to step back from our belief in experience to take a look at it. It's so perfect. Our current thought and memory of childhood, whatever emotions or feelings are present, the sensation of pain, the hunger, the sound of traffic. Knowing or being aware is present in all experience. I think it was Rupert who I heard a while back talk about the pearl necklace, a beaded pearl necklace that has 100 separate beads on it. But its oneness was the strings that ran through it, the continuity. And I thought that was a great analogy.
Yeah.
What makes it one? What hasn't changed in experience? What's never changed? Let me just share a quick story. I did it Friday. My wife and I had a dermatology appointment last week, so I went in first, she went in second. When I came out, there was another gentleman in the waiting area, and he walked over and sat 2 chairs from me. And he started telling me his story, being 79, just retired, lived in Canton, the snowstorms and all this. And then he just said, but I don't feel any different. Nothing has seemed to change. And it was just, I couldn't get the grin off my face, because awareness just went, here I am. And I don't know if he knew he was aware, but he certainly presented it.
That's the similar experience that we all have when you say, well, I don't feel 40 years old, or I don't feel 60, and you only get the idea that you're an age when you look in the mirror. It's only the image that takes you from this experience of being into the objective experience of what the body's eyes sees. And otherwise, I remember many years ago, maybe 20 plus years, 25 years ago, I was working with teenagers as a group leader for one of my kids when they were teenagers. And you know, most of the kids are 18 years old, 16 or 18 years old, and we had a race around the building that we were in. We're like, okay, our team's going to beat your ass, and we ran out the front door to see who could get to the back into our seats the fastest. I forgot that I was 45 or 48 years old, and I came shooting over the top of a wall that on about a 3-foot decline, blew my knee right out. I mean, I completely forgot that I was almost 50 years old.
That's funny.
You forget, especially if you're around youngsters, you know, you just forget your age.
You get absorbed in the experience.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's okay.
On this first page, I put known. I have a little, I kind of marked my book up here. It says, known equals awareness of experience, which equals activity that rises as awareness.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah.
When we know that everything that rises up is just awareness's reflection of itself, that's when we see experience differently. And it presents itself differently.
Well, for me, I'm sure this is the same for most of us, but I've noticed that there's a slight and subtle shift that almost engages awareness. It almost engages that pervading space where all of the objects and all experience is included in this subtle knowing of what I am, this subtle knowing of awareness that knows itself as awareness with no identity per se, no identity as person, but it also you shift into that, and then everything is included.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Rupert here in chapter 1 is it's almost, for me, it was like a 3-stage thing. First, I knew experience. Then I came into the knowing of experience. Being aware of being aware. I was aware of awareness. And then there was times that I could feel the stillness of experience or awareness come forward and present itself. And it was always there, but that was my recognition of it.
Yeah.
And then we as we live this, it just presents itself as everything. All experience just rises up in this. And we can leave it alone now and allow it to be what it is, which is perfect.
It's the reason I feel that these book studies are helpful is because it causes us to bring our attention on the subtle descriptions, the subtle explanations, and then as you're investigating or as you're thinking about these different ways of description, it actually transports your from understanding, it comes into the experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have a big crowd here. We have a nice crowd of about 63 people, and I'm very happy to see everyone today. And if you have any comments or questions, just raise your hand. I don't know if, oh yeah, it looks like we can allow you to talk. So just raise your hand and we'll see how that works. We haven't used that before. What else do you see that you want to make highlight of?
On page 14, the third paragraph, and I'm going to read the whole thing, but the last line that starts with no other, that statement, no other, is, I find, very important.
On page 14?
On page 14, third paragraph. Knowing or being aware is a continuous element in all changing knowledge and experience. So we can test that right now. What, in my experience, has never changed, left or come back, aged? What's its continuity? And it's my awareness of it and my knowing of it. And that's a test we can do at any time. That's an experiment. Because, I'll leave that. It remains consistently present throughout the three states of waking, dreaming, and sleeping. No other element of experience is continuous. So if I ask myself, who am I? I'm either intermittent, changing, or I am continuous. So that's the experiment that we can use.
Yeah.
Because experience shows reality. What my experience is reality. It's thought that takes it and starts labeling it this and that and dividing it up. And
Right.
if I'm just willing to go into experience, it shows me. It's a test of reality.
Mm-hmm. You know, Arthur, I love what Timothy just posted here. He says, never stained by experience. The awareness, consciousness, but I like awareness works better for me, is never stained by the experience. And that's an important distinction, because this is where, and I'm going to just say this is for course people, because we're live in Facebook, where about 18,000 course students are on a Course in Miracles page that I manage, and the words in the course that says nothing real can be threatened, that's awareness. Nothing unreal exists, that's anything. And in this understanding, herein lies the peace of God. We hold ourselves in awareness. We actually, I think Rupert puts it like to take your stand, to make your stand, or to take your stand as awareness, and then allow everything to rise up in that understanding becomes the knowing of the experience, where you're not giving attention to the experience as an I, but you're including it as not separate from the I.
Yes. As soon as I can say, I am depressed, or I am sad, or I am happy, I've taken my stand as awareness, the I, the knowing of the experience. So I put a little space between me and what I seem to be. Rupert uses the analogy of the mirror that I've always loved. The mirror being the infinite awareness. All reflections in the mirror come and go, but the mirror awareness is unaffected by them. But without the mirror, the reflections don't exist. And I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It kept it simple for me.
Yes, very good. There are a couple of questions that came up in the Q&A. It says, yeah, you're looking good. And any suggestions on how to address a separate self that refuses to let go and holds on due to the strong fear of annihilation, coming from an emotional annihilation of the past? That's kind of is there a suggestion for that one?
It's always the same suggestion, because what we're doing is we're taking a specific activity from experience, a finite activity, and trying to apply an infinite solution to it. And the infinite doesn't recognize the finite. It doesn't show up in the finite. Aware presence is how awareness shows up in experience. It starts, for most of us, as the stillness, the background of all experience. So when I recognize any experience, and for most of us, it's usually one that doesn't feel good, I can take my attention off it just for a moment and put my attention on the stillness, the background of all experience, the knower of all experience, the awareness of all experience. And when I do this, I'm being aware of awareness. Because whatever the experience is, it doesn't affect the knowing of it. And as we do this, we create space between the seeming experience and the knowing of it. And now, awareness, aware presence, or stillness has a place that it starts to reveal itself. We've given it some space. We've given God some space. Until we give it space, it's always there. It's just not revealing. And it's always revealing. We're just not seeing it. So the first step is, let's give it some space. Take our stand in and as awareness, or knowing, or stillness, whatever terms resonate with you. I always like stillness because I first experienced that in meditation. Today, that's a living meditation for all of us when it's allowed.
Yeah.
So the thought that I'm depressed, or the feeling that I'm depressed, started as a thought and has grown because I believed it for so long into a belief which settles into our physical. Now we start dealing with it physically and mentally. But we get relieved of that through the same portal the thought came through. It goes back the same way. We can work it back. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's so helpful. I'm gonna. Jenny commented on something. She said, "Ask." She said, "Ask what is it that is feeling fear? Abide as that.
That's perfect.
Abide as that." And I'm not sure who made this. Oh, Andrea made a comment that says awareness never becomes what it is aware of. Yep, awesome. Yeah. Right on.
That's like the mirror analogy.
Yeah. It always remains itself. And Annika said, or one can take one stand as awareness and dive into the fear fully to discover even the sensations are empty and made of impersonal being.
At that point, we're into allowing and welcoming all experience.
Yes.
Because awareness is wide open to all experience. It has no defense against anything in experience because it doesn't need it.
Yes.
So it's completely allowing.
Yeah.
For me, in time and space, that took a little while to be able to allowing. First I recognized, then I allowed, then I became open. And it doesn't mean things still don't come up, but they just don't stick around much because they were allowed.
I'm gonna do a sidebar here for just a second for you guys that are watching live on Facebook. The Course in Miracles has a statement that says, "I am as God created me," and that's the most used statement in A Course in Miracles, and it says that this one thought, held firmly in the mind, is complete salvation, which means a complete enlightenment, or I would say awake awareness. And this is what we're talking about in these terms that we're using. We're talking about knowing the self as your identity, the self as God created you, which is not separate from what you are. And even that term, using God as a religious term, it still dilutes, in my mind. It still dilutes and makes duality into out of oneness.
I would agree. It's God creating, for me, is a religious statement.
Yeah.
Because of our teachings, our religious background.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there's nothing created. Everything is just an expression of awareness. Awareness knows itself through itself. God knows itself through itself. And in the infinite awareness or infinite God, there's nothing to be created because everything is. God is I am. Awareness is I am.
Yes. And that seems like blasphemy to a lot of people.
Yes.
Until it's not. And that's okay. It's okay if it seems like blasphemy.
Yes.
I'm going to go back to the statement of how I handle suggestions for where the separate self seemingly refuses to let go or whatever. When I almost went through a divorce a few years ago, and I noticed in this consciousness that when I would be in a real, like, heated disagreement with my wife, the thing that got me out of it was just pausing and noticing what I just said, just the energy, the emotions, the statement that was coming out of my mouth when I paused and didn't touch it, just was aware of it. I feel that was the thing that caused me to return back to the experience of love, and it did dissolve and dismantle all of those false beliefs, all of those emotions, anything that was an obstacle to the awareness of in the presence of love, which is also awareness. Anything that was an obstacle to that, it got burned up in the fire by just pausing and looking at it. Just hold that ground as awareness.
When you hold that ground and then bring it back into experience, it comes back in as love.
Yes.
And then when an action is taken or needed, it's a right action. It comes from that stillness. I always call it stillness. And but I wanted to add to that. Anything in experience that is affecting me, it's affecting me because it's my interpretation of it. And the only self that interprets anything is the separate self. Knowing knows all things. And that's why awareness is completely open to everything. Because experience solves itself. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
It does what it needs to do. It's perfect.
So we had one more comment. Didn't catch the title of the book. Gwen, it's Being Aware of Being Aware. And you can find it on Amazon. You can also get the picture of the book and a link to Amazon if you go to billfree.com. And it's awesome. This is just the most freeing understanding. It's so freeing that you want to have a copy of this book. You want to sit down and read it, even if you don't show up here. So what else you have, Arthur? What was another highlight in this chapter for you?
Okay, let's
And I did see your comment, Andrea, about page 72. We'll wait to go to 72 because that's chapters ahead.
I wanted to do page 16.
Yeah.
And it's the second paragraph in the third paragraph.
Yeah.
Knowing or being aware is not dependent on the particular conditions or qualities of experience. This is what we were just talking about. It shines equally brightly in all experience, irrespective of how pleasant or unpleasant, good or bad, right or wrong experience may be, just as the screen is equally evident throughout all movies, irrespective of their content. So this is, someone asked me, how do I experiment with this stillness that all experience rises up in? See if it's available to you in all different experiences. Because awareness is available to all of us all the time throughout all experience. When we come to this understanding through experimenting with it, it's our truth. I just wanted to go another line further. Knowing or being aware is the essential, irreducible element of experience. It is fundamental to experience. It is fundamental to experience. It is that element of experience that cannot be removed from it. So sit down in front of your TV and turn it on and start watching whatever show's on. Just put your attention on the show, then shut the TV off and see what's left. Just the screen. Now put your TV back on and see the screen while the show's going on. Then shut it off. Then turn your TV back on and see experience. See the whole experience playing out on the screen. See the screen and the objects of experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it includes it.
Yes.
It includes it, doesn't leave it out, but it holds you. You sort of remain as the awareness, aware and having the experience without veiling the primary position of your essential self.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rupert did this experiment where he said, put your attention on an object. That is, we're going out to the object. Now take your attention off the object, whatever it is, and allow it to come to you. And awareness and stillness. And you can do that. It's pretty cool.
Yes. Yes. You know, Jesus made a statement in the New Testament when, I don't know if it was a disciple or one of the Sanhedrin, but they were asking him how to find the kingdom of heaven. And his statement was so clear and so direct, and it was so perfect to what we're talking about. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within. And for a long time, and most people still today, they're thinking they have to somehow go in here or go into the brain and figure out where the within is. And the within is awareness. The within is seeing without the physical without the body's eyes. It's the knowing of experience as awareness. It sees, it has no judgment, no label, no age, no distance, there's no separate parts. It just is. That's the within experience that he was pointing to 2,000 years ago.
Sure. I would interpret that as he's speaking to someone who thinks they're outside of that. And he says, it's within.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Their world is local awareness, living as the object, living with the world as the object. The world is where they are, and it's where they've located themselves as a physical person.
Yes, awareness is personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where awareness is shared. This is heaven.
Yes.
Just stop interpreting it and judging it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
just live life, be.
Yeah. The experience is heaven. The
Yes.
experience is the description of heaven. A lot of people think that it's like after this body is gone, and it's a state of mind. Heaven is a state of being, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The experience is just an expression of heaven rising up. So when we look out at a beautiful sunset and we get stilled and quieted by it, it's just God's imprint. It's how awareness shows up in experience. Awareness shows up in experience in all different ways, but we tend to miss it.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, this work, this content that we're reading, is allowing me to merge with the name and the identity in my mind that I've always given God. It's slowly but surely God is becoming the name awareness. God and awareness, they are one, but no longer is the old beliefs that's an entity that's separate from me. It's beginning to dissolve in this content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awareness, Rupert talks about it, I think, at the end of this chapter, where awareness and consciousness can seem to be separate. And that's why people like the term God, because it seems bigger than. I think I'm not explaining it great, so I'm going to leave it alone.
The top of the next page, page 17, there's it says, knowing or being aware is the medium upon which or within which all experience appears. It is that with which all experience is known, and ultimately it is the substance or reality out of which all experience is made. And that brings it back to taking the position as presence, as awareness itself, and all of these things arise in it, and we don't have to get caught up in it. We don't need to, if we rest and abide, as Jenny said a little while ago, we rest and abide in and as the awareness or knowing, then objective experience doesn't disturb our peace. It just is. I mean, that's going, a few rungs up on the ladder of evolving into this understanding until it becomes a more natural state. But it is, in my mind, it is the goal of the learning experience until the learning is no longer necessary.
It's that point is when we're open and aware to all experience. We no longer try to manipulate it. We allow it to just flow. And when we do this, it's like a play on the stage and we're in the audience watching. Once we are open to all experience, we can choose to step into experience at any time and put all our attention on some part of experience. That's okay, but we don't have any expectations.
Right.
We don't have any desires. We're just taking an action, and when it's done, and we are aware present. We are allowing. And whatever happened is gone. There's no residue left. All that past stuff that sticks in our chest is a thought, is a memory that we turned into a belief. And when we're open to all experience, all that old residue starts to clean itself out. We just have to allow it. When it comes up, we welcome it.
Mm.
We don't resist it. And let it do what it wants to do. It might not feel good. But if we allow it, and it's not done, and it comes up again, it'll feel less bad the next time. It doesn't have as much energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just allow it to wash itself out, because we don't have to do anything. The doing is within experience. If we allow, then awareness does the work for us. God does the work for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It cleans us out, rinses us out.
Yeah.
Gets rid of that old residue.
Yeah.
Washes out the ashtray.
And it, it's like, how many times have you heard someone say the light does all the work?
Absolutely.
It's the light that shines from and as awareness that does all the work when you just rest, allow, and abide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes no effort. Look, it takes no effort to be our true self. It takes effort to not be our true self, to veil the truth. We never stop being our true self. We just veil it.
Yeah.
And we usually veil it with doing within experience.
We have about 20 minutes left. If anyone would like to raise your hand and speak, we haven't tried that function yet. If you would like to, if you have a question or something. Otherwise, Arthur, let's move on to another part of the book.
Okay. Where am I here? Okay, on page 17, the next to last paragraph.
Yeah.
It says, although knowing or being aware is not itself an objective experience, in the sense that a thought, feeling, sensation, or perception is an objective experience, nevertheless, we are aware that we are aware. Therefore, although knowing or being aware has no objective qualities, it is, at the same time, known. So who knows the knowing of my experience? Who is aware of my awareness?
Only awareness.
Right. And once we take that stand, that's when experience starts showing up within us. It's a tiny fraction of awareness. It's all allowed. We can kind of like take it and just set it over here and let it do whatever it wants. And we just live life. We just come from that stillness. And when we bring it into experience, we're just an individual expression of that peace.
And what's cool about that is because consciousness is one, the totality of all that is, as we rise in our own awareness, our own understanding and the experience of presence, all of consciousness rises. That's why this is happening around the world. That's why much of our audience, much of the ones who are part of this book club they're across the pond over in Europe. It's because consciousness is rising around the world. It's awesome. Beatrice said, Gwen said she just ordered the book. Awesome. And Beatrice says, and Beatrice is one of our co-hosts, a few chapters down. I'm not sure which one, but she's one of our co-hosts here. And thank you for being with us, Beatrice, and being part of this book study group. He says, Rupert says, you do not have to be open to experience. Every experience has already risen in awareness. When we say, I hate this, for instance, or I am afraid of, the experience is already there.
It's already happened.
Yeah.
Now we're taking a thought to interpret it and saying it's my thought.
Yes. Yes. You know, it's funny. I'm going to go. I'm not trying to like bring up old stories, but I'm going to go back to a conversation before Lisa and I nearly were divorced. Leading up to that, I remember we were in our camper one day, and we're just talking, you know, back and forth, and all of a sudden, I made a comment in between sentences, in between words, that was a smart-ass remark. And I looked at her and I said, did you see that remark come in there? Oh, she goes, yeah, I sure did. And it was like the mind that was looking for a little bit of some agitation. It just slipped right in there and attached itself to the eye, and that became my experience for a few moments. But it was noticed by the eye, by awareness, and tagged and dismantled, totally dissolved in that moment.
And it's, excuse me, it's the noticing that's our doing. That's it. Just notice, just recognize.
Yeah. Yeah.
Witness it, be aware of it, and leave it alone, allow it. And usually thoughts, they dissolve right away. They just.
Yes.
But don't try and get rid of it, especially if it's a feeling or a sensation.
Yeah.
Allow it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And mostly, you know, you think, well, if I'm thinking it, I need to say it. I don't believe that.
No.
I do not subscribe to that.
I agree. When we say it, it's just a thought verbalized with sound. That's all.
Yes, yes. So all of you new guys and gals that are here, you can go to billfree.com and register for this event. And you can also go to the Facebook group. You can go, if you register for the event, send me an email at billfreeonline@gmail.com, and I'll let you into the private Facebook group. There's a couple hundred people in the Facebook group, and you're welcome to join us. And let's see, it says, is stillness my only activity? Timothy said that. You want to answer that, Arthur?
My comment to that is stillness isn't an activity.
Right.
Stillness is the being. It's our true nature. It's who we are. An activity takes me away from that. Is that a good enough answer? Does that answer it?
Oh yeah, I feel that stillness Stillness is where what we are. Stillness is just the resting and abiding. There's no activity there, but there is, only because it's kind of like isness.
Yes. It's beingness. Yes.
Yeah.
I would say if stillness, if you don't understand when I mention stillness, you can look at Bill's picture and you can see Bill and all the objects in the picture. Allow your attention just to drift off all the objects and see the empty space that everything is suspended in or rising up in. That empty space is stillness. And that's how it shows up in experience. And there's, I'm keeping it basic, but you can feel it. You can feel it. It's right up against us. It's even more than that. It's everything. But in the beginning, it's so close to us, we can't see it. You know, if you want to hide something, hide it in plain view. Our beingness is always right here. It's
Yes.
always here, but we hide it in plain view.
Yes. Yes.
But because of that, it's easy to be. It takes no effort to be.
Yeah. Yeah. There's great joy in these in this understanding, and there's nothing like it. It's just it's freedom, and freedom actually. Hello, freedom. I see that you made a comment here. Freedom said, what did she say? She said, an activity supposes an actor. An activity supposes an actor. So there's no activity in stillness. There's in fact, when we and I even using words like we, when I'm no longer identified as the personal self, and nothing becomes everything. You have to become nothing to know, which is everything.
Yeah. And we become nothing by dropping our belief system.
Yes.
And what's left? Mind says nothing, and I die. And awareness says everything. We're wide open to everything.
Yes.
It's when I say I am aware, I the subject, awareness the object. But when I am aware of my awareness, now I've taken my stand as awareness, the witness to all experience, and then where all experience shows up in, and then as the substance of all experience.
What I just read.
Yes.
It is the substance or reality out of which all experience is made.
Yeah.
So let's go to page 18. And if you go to 1, 2, 3, about 4 or 5 paragraphs down, Rupert says it is the third paragraph down. Knowing or being aware is non-objective, transparent or colorless. It is empty of all apparent objects, but full of itself alone. It is, as such, an utterly unique experience. It cannot be known as an object, and yet it is not unknown. It is the most obvious element of experience, and yet the most overlooked. That's what you were just saying.
Yes. But when mind understands this, it keeps beating against the edge of the wall as far as it can go, and it finally accepts this, it will relax. That compulsive thinking will relax. And the activity of mind will become its purpose. Because mind is activity, but it's for higher thinking, which is what we're doing now, or practical thinking. You know, I don't put my hand on the burner because it's hot.
Yeah.
I don't run out in front of that car because it's going to hurt. That's mind's purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And when it has a new understanding, learns these ideas, concepts become an experience that's understood and known. We can rely on it. The mind actually relaxes into what it arises from.
Yeah. Which is the stillness, all experience, or awareness.
Yeah.
Really, it's awareness is its engine to experience itself. Awareness constricts itself willingly.
Yes.
It uses the mind as the engine.
Yes. Yeah.
So awareness, as far as I know, is having 7 billion individual experiences as a whole. Awareness only sees it as experience.
Yes.
I see it as an individual experience. And who knows how many other experiences is going on throughout universe, you know? It's time and space is just a stage for experience to play on. Without it, it wouldn't exist. So
Right.
it's all awareness. It's like when God breathes out, he breathes out God experience. When God inhales, it's just pure God, pure awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we get to experience ourself, our true being. That's complete freedom.
Must be wild to pick this up in your 20s.
I can't imagine.
And, you know, and really, I mean, I think that's where we're going.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. So
it's being taught everywhere.
In all different traditions, a lot of different ways, it's being expressed in a lot of different ways out there. It's not just this to me is, I mean, this is one way. This is a very direct way in my mind.
That's why it's called the direct path, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would tell you I'm as lazy as they come. So if you're going to give me a shortcut to the truth, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah. What's your highlight for this chapter, Arthur? We're 5 minutes to go. And if anyone wants to raise their hand, I would love to see how this thing works. If you want to make a comment before we leave, we've had about 75 to 77 people with us today. It's been a great turnout, and this platform is working perfect.
Okay, I'd like to.
Monica says yes. She says Monica says yes. Where was this in my 20s?
Right where it is now.
There weren't many books. No, these weren't out. You know, the books weren't out in our 20s. This is a evolution of consciousness.
But I would ask Monica, the awareness that is aware of this experience we're having right now is the same awareness that was aware of your experience in your 20s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's unchanged.
Yes. In fact, that awareness is what set all this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Absolutely.
were you going to say, Arthur, before we...
I was gonna go to the bottom of page 23.
Okay, good.
And read the last paragraph. Before awareness knows anything other than itself, such as a thought, feeling, sensation, or perception, awareness is aware of itself. Awareness's nature is to be aware of itself, and thus its primary experience is to be aware of itself. So when I am putting my attention on the objects of experience, coming from the point of view of a separate self, I veil my knowing of self. Once I know self and I bring my attention into experience, that's fine.
Yep.
Because we're experiencing experience.
Yeah, like I said last week when I was talking to Freedom, it until I found Rupert, I was all about awareness, just the neti. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm awareness. And it's only from finding Rupert and his teaching that I have been able to have the full experience of coming back into experience as the knowing of it and the being of the experience as well.
Yeah. Neti, it takes us to that, what I call the second step, where we're aware without objects, without experience. We're just awareness. But like Rupert always teaches, the final is when we bring it out into experience, to experience it.
Yeah.
We're experiencing self-awareness, love, joy, peace, happiness, whatever word.
Yes.
And then prior to, I would say, the teachers and the teachings all fold back into just the truth. We don't need to study anymore. We just live life. We're just living meditation. So when we're called to a reading, like I'm doing the Ashes of Love all the time, and you just sit with it, the words, they dissolve away and you rest in what's left behind from the reading. And that is just that perfect peace. Just sit in it, be with it, love it.
Yeah. This is life, man. I love it. It's awesome. Arthur, thank you for being a co-host this week. And I love you, brother.
I love you too, Bill.
And thank you for your comments, everyone on the chat. Thank you for being with us today. Freedom, we love you too. We love you like crazy. And next week, Andrea Frazee, she will be here for Chapter 2, The Nature of Awareness. She's with us today. Hello, Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
We love you too. We love all of you. And thank you for being our mighty companions here and the Pure Presence Book Club. And thank you all for joining us live on Facebook. And you can join this book study. We're only on Chapter 1 this week. We have 7 more chapters to go. And you can go to billfree.com. There's a registration now page. Just go to events, look for Being Aware of Being Aware, and you can join us in the book study, and you're welcome to be part of this group. And we love you all. We bless you all. And we're just present in the awareness of this experience. Amen.
Love you all.
Bye, everyone. See you next week. Bye, Facebook. Let me turn the Facebook Live off. Bye, everyone on Facebook. Stop the live stream.